Cilia and flagella. Both of these are used for movement, and both of them have the same internal structure, which you can see here. That is an actual photograph from a microscope, and that's a diagram. There are 9 pairs of microtubules surrounding a central pair. Again, you can tell that they're microtubules because they are hollow on the inside. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pairs surrounding a central pair. Both cilia and flagella, if you cut them down the middle and you look at it from the side, like you look at it from that angle, that's called a cross section. You look at it that way, you'll see 9 pairs around a central pair. Again, both are for movement, said that already. All right, starting with cilia. Cilia are short and hair-like. When you have cilia present, you will have them present in large numbers. Now, they have different functions depending on if you find them on unicellular organisms versus inside internal structures of a multicellular organism. So we'll take it from here first. This is a longitudinal section, which means you've crossed it, you've cut it lengthwise, and you're looking at it from the side of your respiratory system. That means that your air passageway, your nose, your mouth, your trachea, your bronchi, your bronchioles, and your lungs, all of that tissue is covered on the top with cilia. Why is that? Well, the function of your respiratory system is to take in air and function in gas exchange so that oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged in the lungs. Now, the problem is, especially if you live in a very polluted city like Bangkok, that you have a lot of particulates or very small particles of matter or pollution in the air, and that's bad for your lungs. So when you breathe in, not only do you have hairs in your nose, and I know maybe you think that's gross, but every single human being on the planet has hairs in their nose, and those hairs are meant to trap any large particles of dust or debris. And then once it gets through your nose and it gets into the back of your sinuses and it goes to the back of your throat and then finally into your windpipe, your trachea, all of that tissue is covered with cilia because still there might be microscopic particles, there might be pathogens like, oh, a coronavirus that is in the air. And this is why something like coronavirus, which is a respiratory virus, it gets infected in the cells of your lungs because you breathe it in. Now, the big problem now is with the Delta variant. Studies have shown that people only need to be exposed to the Delta variant between 5 and 10 seconds in order for you to become infected. So it's really, really, really important that you keep your mask on, wear it properly, wear it tight fitting to your face. Don't like put it under your nose because that's not going to help anything, because guess what? Your nose and your mouth, they're connected in the back. So wearing your mask like this is not going to change the fact that you're still breathing in coronavirus if you're around somebody that's infected. Okay, so that's for multicellular organisms, the purpose of cilia. So when particles of pathogens or dust, debris, pollution, whatever, when it gets trapped in the cilia, it's also the cells lining your respiratory tract also produce mucus. And if you've been really sick and had a big cold and your sinuses are all full of snot, what we call snot is mucus, that really slimy, sticky, clear substance. Well, sometimes it's not clear depending on what you're sick with. Sometimes it's kind of yellow, sometimes it's kind of green, sometimes white. All of that's an indication of what exactly the infection is being caused by. Anyway, so that mucus is there to help trap these particles that are not supposed to get to your lungs. So what happens if your tissue becomes full of particles is that your diaphragm, which is a muscle that controls breathing, is going to contract, which causes you to cough. And when you cough, you take all of that crap that's been trapped by the cilia, you cough it up to your mouth. And then what do you do after you cough? You swallow it. When you swallow it, then you take that big ball of saliva, mucus, and the bad things that were trapped there, and it gets transferred to your esophagus, which leads to your stomach, and your stomach is full of acid, which then will destroy, hopefully, any of the pathogens that are in the air. Sorry, that's my dog dreaming on the floor next to me. Okay, if you hear that little peeping. All right, so for unicellular organisms, cilia have a completely different function. Now, this is our friend, the paramecium, the same dudes that have the contractile vacuole. They move around in fresh water purely by the coordination of the movement of their cilia. I don't know if I have a video. Oops. No, oops. Sorry. Try to go. Here we go. Yeah, I do. Okay, so I'm going to show you in a video what they do. So they're for unicellular organisms, they are purely for movement. Here we go. So on the left-hand side, you're looking at a paramecium that uses the cilia, and you see how we call it the beating of the cilia, B-E-A-T-I-N-G, meaning like the waving pattern. The waving pattern of the cilia on the paramecium on the outside provides a propulsive movement. But on the right-hand side, what you're looking at here is the beating of the cilia inside of the respiratory tract of an animal. And so it's the same thing. It creates this current, which is the purpose of it. Okay, last thing for this video is the flagella. These are long and tail-like, and when they are present, they're going to be present in a lot fewer numbers than the cells that have cilia. So this is a bacteria. Bacteria can have flagella, and of course the ever so famous sperm cells, which have structurally they're supposed to have one, but it's possible for them to have mutations and have more than one flagella. So on the left-hand side, you see an organism called a euglena. Again, this is a protist, just like the paramecium and the amoeba. And you see how the flagella kind of whips around. And this one, I think, is that Vorticella? Or maybe not. I don't know. It's another protist. It might be Vorticella, but I don't think so. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. I'm just using them to show you what a flagella looks like. Anyway, so they use it to move around.